Well, we are back with part 5 of this week's reading for Monday, February 3rd, 2020. We're reading Genesis chapters 11 through 23 of the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, Tree of Life Version, TLV. And we just read chapter 19, and I'm going to go over just a few things of the second part of chapter 19, the sins of Lot's two daughters. They had gotten their father drunk, and they both ended up being pregnant. And the firstborn named her son Moab, who was the father of the Moabites, and the second daughter called her son Ben-Ami, the father of the children of Ammon. And later, they are actually enemies to to the children of Israel, as we will read as we move through the Bible. That they're doing battle with them often, actually. Chapter 20. Sarah renewed. Then Abraham journeyed from there in the land of Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he was dwelling as an outsider in Gerar, Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." So King Abimelech of Gerar sent for and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream at night and said to him, "Behold, you are as good as dead because of the woman whom you have taken, since she is a married woman." Now Abimelech had not come near her, so he said, "My lord, will you slay a nation, even though innocent? Didn't he say to me, 'She's my sister'? And she herself even said, 'He's my brother.' I did this with integrity of my heart and guiltlessness of my hands." Then God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I myself knew that you did this with integrity of your heart. So I myself prevented you from sinning against me. That is why I did not allow you to touch her. So now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, know that you will surely die, you and all who are yours." Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and spoke all these words in their ears. And the men were very frightened. Then Abimelech called to Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I sinned against you, that you brought great sin upon me and my kingdom? You've done to me things that should not be done." Abimelech also said to Abraham, "What motivated you to do this thing?" Abraham said, "Because I thought, there is certainly no fear of God in this place, so they'll kill me because of my wife. And besides, she really is my sister. She's my father's daughter, though not my mother's daughter. Then she became my wife. So when God made me wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'This is your loyalty that you must show me in every place we go. Say of me, he is my brother.'" Then Abimelech took sheep, cattle, male slaves, and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and returned his wife Sarah to him. Then Abimelech said, "Look, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it pleases you." At the same time he said to Sarah, "Look, I've given 1,000 shekels to your brother. Look, it is compensation for everything that happened. So to everyone with you, you are vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slaves, so they could bear children. For Adonai had completely locked up every womb in Abimelech's household because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. So once again, they were in a land. They sojourned in Gerar, and once again Abraham lied and spoke of Sarah. Actually, he didn't lie. She was his sister. But Abimelech took Sarah. So God came to Abimelech in a dream and told him that he had taken another man's wife, and to return her, and and that is what happened in chapter 20. So chapter 21, the birth of Isaac. So we're going to come to talk about Isaac a little bit here. Then Adonai visited Sarah just as he had said he would, and Adonai did for Sarah just as he had spoken. Sorry about that. I had to pause. I'm losing my voice, and also my phone is going off a couple times, as you probably heard. So Sarah became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age at the appointed time that God had told him. Abraham named his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore for him, Isaac. Then Abraham circumcised Isaac his 8-day-old son, just as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac, his son, was born to him. So Sarah said, God has made laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. She also said, who would have said to Abraham, Sarah has nursed children, for I have given birth to a son in his old age. Ishmael, banished yet delivered. That's the next section. The child grew and was weaned. Abraham made a feast on the day Isaac was weaned, but Sarah saw that the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom had, had born to Abraham, was making fun. So she said to Abraham, drive out this female slave and her son, for the son of this female slave will not be an heir with my son, with Isaac. Now the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's eyes on account of his son. But God said to Abraham, do not be displeased about the boy and your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, listen to her voice. For though Isaac shall your seed be called, yet I will also make the son of the slave woman into a nation, because he is your seed. So Abraham got up early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar, putting them on her shoulder, and the child sent her away. She went and wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water from the skin was finished, she abandoned the child under one of the bushes. Then she went and sat herself down opposite, about a bow shot away, for she had said, I can't bear to see the child dying. So she sat down opposite and lifted up her voice and wept. Then God heard the boy's voice, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. And he said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, because God has heard the boy's voice where he is. Get up, lift the boy up, and hold on to him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the water skin and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy, and he grew. He dwelled in the wilderness and became an archer. He dwelled in the wilderness of Paran, Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Next section of 21, chapter 21, is the covenant of Abimelech and Abraham. Now it came about at the same time that Abimelech, with Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. So now make a pledge to me here by God that you will not violate your word with me, or with my descendants, or with my offspring. As I have shown loyalty to you, show the same to me, and to the land in which you have lived as an outsider. Abraham said, I make a pledge. Now Abraham had rebuked Abimelech because of the well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized. So he was making wells and they were stopping them up. So Abimelech said, I don't know who did this thing, nor did you tell me, nor did I hear about it until today. Then Abraham took a flock of sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham set 7 young ewe lambs apart from the flock of sheep by himself. Abimelech said to Abraham, what do these 7 ewe lambs that you've set apart set them yeah, I'm sorry. What do these 7 ewe lambs that you've set by themselves mean? He said, you are to accept the 7 ewe lambs from my hand, so that they may be a witness for me that I dug this well. That is why the place is named Beersheba, because they're both of them made a pledge. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And they made a covenant in Beersheba. Then Abimelech got up with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. This is the first you're hearing of the Philistines, which we're, spoiler alert, we're going to hear a lot about the Philistines as we go through the Bible. Then he planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of Adonai, the everlasting God. He lived as an outsider in the land of the Philistines for many days. So when we're looking at chapter 21, well, I'm going to go back just a little bit before we move into chapter 22. When we go back to the chapter where Abraham and Sarah prepared a meal for the 3 angels, for God and the 2 angels actually. Um, they prepared the meal with matzah, and that is with baked unleavened bread. Just to clarify that with y'all. So we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 21 before we go to chapter 22. And the Lord visited Sarah, and Sarah conceived and had a son for Abraham. He was 100 years old when Isaac was born, and Sarah was 90. Imagine that. And yes, nothing is too hard for the Lord. So, yes, she was 90 years old. In the second part, Hagar and Ishmael are cast out because Ishmael was mocking and actually being abusive to Isaac, and Sarah actually saw it and put a stop to that. And that's why they were cast out. It was because of the abusiveness to Isaac that Ishmael was actually doing. And in the last part of chapter 21, there was a covenant made between Abimelech and Abraham, that Abraham would not deal falsely with him, and also that the wells that they were digging, that Abimelech's people would leave them alone. So that's what we have up to this point. We're going to move into chapter 22. Now, chapter 2 is a serious test that the Lord uh, did with Abraham to actually see if he would be faithful. And this is actually very, very interesting as we go into this. I am actually going to pause this at this point and come back with we'll come back with part 6, because we're already approaching the 12-minute mark. Is coming up very quickly, and this is a fairly long chapter, so I don't want to try to push it, because I think I've pushed part 2 and 4, and I'm hoping they make it. So I'm going to pause at this point, and we're going to come back with part 6 of this week's teaching.